Kelly from Kelly's Amigurumi. Today I will review a pattern for a Tunisian crochet square. To follow along with the video, you can grab a Tunisian crochet hook and yarn. You can use any size Tunisian crochet hook and yarn as long as the two complement each other. You also can decide the width of your square. To determine how many stitches you need in a foundation chain, first decide how wide you want your square to be. You will need 2 times the width of your square plus 5 stitches in your starting chain. The 2 times the width will be for the width of your square. The plus 5 will include your starting loop, Tunisian simple stitch 3 together, and your last stitch in each row. For a square of 5 by 5, you will start with 15 stitches, 10 for the 2 by 5 stitches, plus 1, 3, 1. For a 10 by 10 square, you would start with 25 stitches, 20 for the 2 by 10, plus 1, 3, 1. The pattern will progress as follows. You'll begin with your starting chain and then work a Tunisian crochet standard foundation row. Row 1, you'll work n number of stitches before Tunisian simple stitch 3 together, then work n number of stitches before your last Tunisian simple stitch. Row 2, you'll work n minus 1 stitches, then Tunisian simple stitch 3 together, n minus 1 before your last Tunisian stitch. Row 2, n minus 2 stitches, Tunisian simple stitch 3 together, n minus 2 before your last Tunisian stitch, and continue with such patterning until you have just Tunisian simple stitch 3 together before your last Tunisian stitch in the row. I began with my starting chain of 15. I'll then create a Tunisian crochet standard foundation row with the forward pass, inserting my hook into the second chain from my hook, yarn over, pulling up a loop. Then continuing to insert my hook into the next chain stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Repeating until I have 15 loops on my hook. I'll then work a standard Tunisian crochet return pass for my foundation row and all subsequent rows by yarning over, pulling through 1 loop, then continuing to yarn over, pull through 2 loops until I have 1 loop remaining on my hook. Row 1 forward pass. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 5 stitches by inserting your hook behind the next vertical bar, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Tunisian simple stitch 3 together. Insert your hook behind the vertical bar of the next 3 stitches, then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 5 stitches. Last Tunisian simple stitch, inserting our hook behind the front and back vertical bars of our last stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Then standard Tunisian crochet return pass, yarn over, pull through 1, then repeatedly yarning over, pulling through 2 loops until 1 loop remains on the hook. Starting to see a bend in our work after row 1, pattern for the forward pass of row 2, Tunisian simple stitch in the next 4 stitches. Tunisian simple stitch 3 together, inserting our hook behind the vertical bars of the next 3 stitches, noticing there's a bigger gap after the first 2 stitches, yarning over, pulling through all 3 loops. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 4 stitches. Last Tunisian simple stitch, inserting our hook behind the front and back vertical bars of the last stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, standard Tunisian crochet return pass, yarning over, pulling through 1 loop, then continuing to yarn over, pull through 2 loops until 1 loop remains on our hook. Row 3, Tunisian simple stitch in the next 3 stitches. Tunisian simple stitch 3 together. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 3 stitches. Last Tunisian simple stitch. Standard Tunisian crochet return pass. Row 4, Tunisian simple stitch in the next 2 stitches. Tunisian simple stitch 3 together. Tunisian simple stitch in the next 2 stitches. Last Tunisian simple stitch. Standard Tunisian crochet return pass. Row 5, Tunisian simple stitch in the next stitch. Tunisian simple stitch 3 together. Tunisian simple stitch in the next stitch. Last Tunisian stitch. And standard return pass. Row 6, Tunisian simple stitch 3 together. Last Tunisian simple stitch. And finish your work by yarning over, pulling through 3 loops. Can fasten off. You'll cut your yarn, then yarn over and pull through. You can weave in the remaining tail from the beginning and the end. Thanks for joining the video on how to Tunisian crochet a square. Now that you have tried a 5x5 square, you can attempt to make a larger square. If you have any questions on how to Tunisian crochet a square, leave them in the comments below.